Willkommen, sondern Welcome at Axel Springer Verlag. Ja, ich darf sagen, meine Damen und Herren, herzlich willkommen bei Axel Springer, bei der Berliner Morgenpost. Ja, Philip D. Murphy, the ambassador. We would like to talk a little bit about you. We would like to talk a little bit about the United States. We would like to talk a little bit about the elections. It's a very interesting and thrilling topic these days.
Now, first of all, thank you all for coming out today. This is a great idea. I said to Marius on the way up that the notion that you all have this amount of interest in America, our election, who we are, is an honor for me and for my colleagues, many of whom, by the way, are with me today.
I just wanted to ask you, what are your tasks as an ambassador in general, and have they changed because of the selections in the USA, or are they the same? Yeah.
Again, great question. I'll describe, without giving you too long an answer, I'll describe a couple of different dimensions in my life. One dimension is I live two lives. One life is the here and now, stuff that I have to do today. I'm going back from this meeting when I leave here to do something that I have to have a meeting that I have to have today. It's the here and now. I have a lot of my life like that. Another part of my life, though, is typified by this meeting. I spend an enormous amount of time with young people. And my objective in that part of my life is to try to engage with folks in your generation such that 20 or 30 years from now, you've grown up with some sense of the German-American relationship. I don't mean you'll get that only in this one meeting. I hope I could convince all of you to do an Austausch program in America. That's the magic wand. Both Germans going to America and Americans coming to Germany, particularly when they're young. But that's one way to look at my life. Here and now, and setting up for tomorrow, such that when you're in the Bundestag, or a senior executive in a company, or the manager of the Berlin Philharmonie, whatever it might be. Another dimension, how much time I spend in Berlin versus how much I travel in Germany. This is a federal republic, the Bundesrepublik Deutschland. America is a federal republic. You would never go to Washington and say, okay, I've been to America, much as I love Washington, by the way, check the box, I don't have to go back to America. That would never occur to you. You'd want to go to Boston, Miami, Chicago, New York, Dallas, Denver, LA. Same thing is true for Germany. Berlin is a great city, one of my favorite cities in the world. It's the biggest city here, it's the capital, you have to go to Berlin, but you'd never just go to Berlin and say, okay, I've done Germany, I don't have to go back. So for instance, last week alone, I was in Düsseldorf. I was in Ansberg in NRW, Neuss in NRW, München, in the nähe von Nuremberg, and auch in Hamburg. Next week, I'm going to be in Köln. I will be in Neuss again. I'll be in Recklinghausen, and then back in Bochum. So you've got to travel. That's another way I look at it. The last way I'd say is people ask me in my time here, which topics have I spent the most time on, other than youth engagement, so my life over here. And those three would be Iran, Afghanistan, the Euro. Those are the three areas that have occupied. I've been here over 3 years, about 3¼ years. And those are the topics. Other topics, importantly, come and go. Syria, Libya, the US election, which we're making a big deal about, engaging with Germans, young and old, about what's going on in the election. But those come and go. Fußball is a big theme of ours. I hope that gives you some sense of how it is.
Viel zu tun für den Botschafter.
Wie weit ist Obama gelungen, seine Wahlkampfversprechen einzuhalten?
How wide is which?
What grade are you in? Welche Klasse bist du? Achte Klasse. He would like to know how much, whether Obama fulfilled all the things he gave away as an election
promises.
His promises.
Has he fulfilled all? No. I don't know anyone who ever has done that, though. Has he fulfilled a lot of them? Boy, he has. In fact, I know one of the reasons why he's done a lot is because the opposition is, particularly that part of the opposition that blame government for a lot of our issues. They're really upset by how much he's done. But I look at a whole bunch of things he's done. Healthcare reform, financial market reform, biggest healthcare reform since the 1960s, biggest financial market reform since the 1930s. He promised to end the war in Iraq, and he did. He's promised with Germany and others to transition the end of Afghanistan's war, the war in Afghanistan through 2014, and we're doing that. He has taken Osama bin Laden out of the game. He did an enormous amount to stabilize our economy, bailing out one of our biggest companies, General Motors, one of the biggest companies in America. And you know how important the car business is in Germany. It's just as important in America. I think it totals, if you include the car companies and all the suppliers, 19% of our workforce. Of our manufacturing workforce. It's a huge element. So he's done an enormous amount. He has not yet closed Guantanamo. He wants to. We all want to, but it's more complicated than we thought. He laid out an incredible vision for a nuclear weapons-free world, but that will take decades. So some of the stuff is just more complicated than we all would like to admit. Some of it we're working on, but it's going to take longer to get there. But he's accomplished a lot. I know some people think, he didn't do what he said he was going to do. That's just not, the facts don't bear that out. He's done a lot. Who asked me why I was ambassador? Laura, good question. I'm not sure I have a good answer to that. I'd say the single reason is likely, although you'd have to ask President Obama this because it's his decision. So I never said to him when he said, "Would you like to do this?" I never said, "Why is that? Or are you sure?" It's the honor of a lifetime. We lived here. We had some experience here. We spoke some of the language. We got to know some of the people and the culture here. He's a very logical individual. People ask me all the time, why did he and the Chancellor get along so well? My answer is, if you open them both up inside, I think they're wired similarly. Very fact-based, very logic-based, very sort of process toward conclusion, process toward pragmatic, toward success. And I don't think if I had never lived here, for instance, had no connection with Germany, I think he might rightfully say, well, I like Murphy, he's a good guy, but why Germany? But the fact that I have had some experience. My colleague in Paris is a fluent French speaker and has had a long history in France. My colleague in Rome spent a good chunk of his childhood in Italy and speaks fluent Italian. So there's logic. I'm sure there's logic in every president's selections, but there certainly was in those instances, at least that I know of.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Have a little applause for the ambassador.